Amanda Gorman, let's talk. I honor your keen poet spirit, Amanda, and applaud your acclamation as a modern songstress of destiny. I envy your gift to express the inexpressible in your poetry. As with the rest of our nation, I sat in admiration, entranced by the verbal choreography of hope and light as you gave birth to your healing vision and profound insight in front of our wounded capital on Inauguration Day. Then an earlier poem of yours came my way, 8 Reasons to Stand Up Today Against Abortion Bans. Your passionate eloquence again inspired me, igniting a reaction until I burned to add to the conversation. Not that I in any way possess your formidable talent nor your remarkable grace, but I was encouraged by a confession you made about facing your terror of speaking in a public space by deciding you could no longer stand silent. Please accept my humble attempt to imitate your courage, to speak out where I never have before, to use my own awkward words, to chance rejection and a cascade of verbal swords, knowing our opinions will collide and my art fall far short of yours. The truth is, I grieved to see a beautiful, talented young woman with such a strong voice speak out so vehemently for what is ultimately the destruction of the voiceless, the foreign but not born. This is an invitation to discourse without angry rhetoric, to shape a verbal promenade, as it were, to work out the complicated steps, to create a delicate new dance of human rights where all sides move together toward a common light, not to tap dance around the truth, but to recognize it, all of it, to step up and accept it, to sound out its deepest rhythms, to revere it, and to live it. I get it. I understand why pro-choice advocates fight fiercely for a woman's autonomy, being in charge of decisions about her own body and not controlled by men nor a government controlled mostly by men. But I suggest that by pushing so ardently for sovereignty, you overlook the sanctity, the sacredness of our ability to create new life.
Why must our strongness come at the expense of the weakness of the weakest?
I recognize your sincerity to preserve the right of such gravity, and I do not want to deny you nor any woman what is yours. I agree with the premise you unfold. As a woman, how can I not? I stand with those women throughout history and those alive today with stories told and untold, who have suffered egregious violations of our bodies and more often our very souls. And yet, it is crystal clear there are children unborn who are right now suffering deliberate violations of their bodies. They literally have a lifetime to lose.
Every method of abortion does violence to them as we exercise the right to choose.
Why should babies conceived today have to pay for generations of past betrayals? The sins of the father should no longer be visited on their sons and daughters with a payment so high it takes their breath away. Abortion is not only about a woman's body. It is about the ending of a developing life tucked within her, out of sight, a life with which she has a unique connection. You are right to say the new human is totally dependent upon its mother, but upon honest inspection, you must admit it is not the mother. From the moment of conception, it is a separate person, as real and distinct as you and I. Our life is like a woven piece of cloth of different lengths, but without any seams. Nothing is added. We are human from our inception with no exception. The science proves there is no point where we suddenly become human. From the beginning, we have our own DNA and destiny. Like us all, the unborn just need time to grow to their full potential. For the pro-life side, it is about that hidden baby's body, a living human person who should have the rights that all human beings have. Many of the aborted are female, tender sprouts of future women whose rights are being disregarded, dismembered, and discarded. The procedure often leaves a deep wound in the women who terminate their motherhood. It is also about that woman's soul, which many times mourns that loss for a lifetime. You professed that poetry has always been the language of bridges. My hope is that we can cross this bridge together to make life better for all women, born and unborn, to ask what you call charged and challenging questions, so we can empower all women to have real agency to choose to live freely. There are people on both sides of this issue with good hearts, strong minds, and compassionate intentions who may well never agree on the baby. But we can agree on meeting the needs of the woman. Imagine if we all joined forces to truly make abortion a rare choice. That would be a healing movement I think we could all live with. I don't expect with much of this you agree, but if by chance you see an idea, a phrase, or even one word that you can accept, let that be the one on this bridge that is the next step. As I listened with an open mind to your 8 reasons to protect access to abortion, please give ear to my plea to do everything we can to eliminate every reason a woman might have to need one. In a world reeling with so much brokenness and injustice, let us stand strong together to protect all those who are unarmed.
Reason 1. Every human person should have the same rights as all others, no matter their age, condition, color, or creed. The argument for abortion rights reeks with the venom of slavery. Do you see the irony of those who call for the statues of slaveholders to be eliminated? And yet, with the same breath, advocate that unborn babies be terminated, denying them the rights the slaves were. The fault is not in the child, nor was it ever in the slaves, who, though made of the same flesh and blood as their white slaveholders, were easy to kill because they were declared as not being human, nor of having value. The child in the womb, though made of the same flesh and blood as the born, has been declared as not being human, nor of having value. Can you live with the parallel I'm pointing out to you? So many more black babies are aborted than white babies, and abortion providers are disproportionately located in minority neighborhoods. Of the 60 million legal abortions to date, nearly a third were black babies. Nearly 30% of abortions were performed among 13% of the population,
making abortion a leading cause of death among Black Americans.
In a flagrant attack on our communities of color. Why don't these Black lives matter? There are too many ways our systems have inflicted injustices on our brothers and sisters, economically, socially, academically, and through our criminal injustice system. But did you know that so many more white babies are allowed to be born? If all the world's a stage, as the great bard claims, admission tickets for black babies are more rare and easier to lose, even if they have passed through the gate and have staked out a womb, they could be cut from the cast by a woman's right to choose. And if they do make it through the door, they often have to fight their way in from the wings to do more, prove more, endure more, just to get the better lighting or to survive a traffic stop. Is it then surprising that communities of color have been oppressed and suppressed when blatant injustice begins in the womb?
Reason 2. Being wanted should never be the criterion for preserving a life. One person's inability or unwillingness to deal with us should not determine whether we survive. Our culture does not even try to hide our awkward relationship with the lies that form the bedrock of abortion rights. This inconsistency, a veritable tidal wave of contradiction, became only too apparent when a famous and well-loved woman lost her baby in a miscarriage. It was a very public pain. Thousands of condolences were posted on social media as sympathy felt like gentle rain on the grieving family. But the great surprise were the abortion advocates who recognized and confirmed the loss of her unborn child in her womb,
formed but not born.
How can they recognize the humanity of a child wanted by its parents, yet not recognize the
exact same humanity
when an unwanted child is aborted? It cannot be a human baby in one stance and disposable tissue in another, when the only difference is the neighborhood, the geography of being assembled in a different womb. There's another unevenness here when a woman chooses to terminate her pregnancy with an abortion. She is still experiencing the loss of a child. A mother is a mother forever, even if the child dies. Women who lose their child through miscarriage or stillbirth grieve their vacant wombs, their empty arms, and broken hearts. They bury their hopes, their dreams for what may have been, for what was taken from them. The grief is natural. The grief is hard. The grief heals a loss which is deep for a child that is real. But women who choose abortion often do not feel they need to grieve the removal of the fetal tissue. Or they may feel they aborted their right to grieve along with their unborn child. But their bodies and souls continue to carry the pain. When a baby is wanted, we squeal over sonograms showing fingers and toes, a recognizable face with a tiny nose. We celebrate them with baby showers, presents, cakes, yet we do not call it a fetal shower. Our cards do not say, "Congratulations on your fetus." We hunger to know a name, because we know it is a baby. But when it is unwanted, pro-abortion advocates distance us from the truth, calling it fetus. It's personhood, defying it, so it is easier to tell women to annihilate it. The first step in any genocide is to deny the humanity of the target.
Did we forget?
Remember the Holocaust? 6 million Jews. The horrific costs eradicated because they were born Jewish. Unwanted under the guise that life would be better, more pure if they were erased and burdensome no more. We can easily see through that fabrication, that being unwanted was not justification for murdering them. Why can we not also see the lie that a woman who erases her unborn child will make for herself a life better and less burdensome? 62 million babies have been aborted, 10 times the number of Jews in the Holocaust. When I look around to see if it was worth the cost, I see a culture of violence and death, greed and intolerance, so many broken people whose joy has been lost.
How is life better for any of us?
Reason 3, we are so much better than this. We are a people of epic generosity when it comes to reaching out to help our neighbors who suffer tragedy. There are many among us with hearts that expand beyond all reason, who do more than their part to carry others who cannot bear their burdens alone. We need to reflect on why we do not do everything we can to help a woman distressed by a crisis pregnancy. Sacrifice your child? Why are we not offering her more?
Why do we rush to save everyone and everything except for the defenseless unborn?
We are a people who advocate for those who are voiceless, like endangered turtles and whales, rhinos, elephants, nearly anything with a tail. There are federal and state laws against moving a migratory bird's nest with eggs or newly hatched baby birds at rest until they have grown and flown away. It violates the law to kill backyard birds who belong to no one. Seems a bit absurd in a serious dialogue about which lives earn our protection. Several years ago, a robin built a nest in my kitchen window where I watched the eggs hatch and the bony, naked, helpless baby robins be tended to by both parents. With eyes closed, unable to do more than lie recumbent, they were totally dependent on their mother for every bit of nourishment. I watched silently, just a window screen between us, as a mother robin regurgitated worms and fed them to her babies, who quickly needed more room, but not yet fledglings, were stuck in the nest like a non-viable baby in the womb. And yet, if I had taken those baby birds and crushed them under my heel, would it be horror you feel? I could have been fined or thrown in jail, even though I would only have been exercising my choice to dispatch the noisy little chicks from my own window well in my house on my property. And yet, there are some who would think me heartless and cruel. Yet, when a doctor crushes an infant and takes her lifeless from her mother's womb,
where is our horror then? Why have we lost our reverence for human life?
Why are we so ready to destroy members of our own species, to wage a war even in the cradle of the womb, to make that safe space a veritable hell? Would it garner more protections if an unborn baby came in a crushable eggshell?
Reason 4. Let us not allow our fear to be greater than our love. God created us for more than the life we inhabit here. Most of the world's population believes that there's something more than this physical, temporary life. In a way, like God Himself, we are immortal. And yet our culture's imagination suffers from stagnation, living as if there were no afterlife beyond this spinning globe of decay we are exiled upon, cramming our existence in mundane comforts until, in an attempt to seek liberation from suffering, our crutches leave us crippled.
Why do we not have faith enough to love as much as we are capable of?
We sell ourselves short, not discovering how strong we can be and how deeply we can love. Certainly, an unexpected pregnancy is a major life crisis a woman may feel ill-equipped to handle. A victim of sexual or intimate partner violence can be desperate to regain some normalcy if she finds she is facing an unintended pregnancy. To avoid the further suffering that bearing the child may bring, she may opt for abortion, which carries its own pain. A steep penalty is paid by 2 innocent victims, exacted from a child and a woman who were not to blame. Yet God pours endless grace on us in our need if we only ask. He carries us if, like children ourselves, we cry to be lifted into the safety of our Father's arms. I hear you out there. Keep your religion off of my body.
God is not my religion.
My belief in God does not make Him be. He exists before and beyond me. He breathes a soul into each of us, that breath of God, that part of us that loves even more deeply than our human heart can conceive, that dreams and soars and hurts far more than our flesh and blood can perceive. We may channel the love of God, who is love, even if we fail to believe. God spoke to the prophet Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I consecrated you." Read between the lines. He was really saying,
I loved you from the moment I thought you into being.
Pro-life advocates are not trying to strip women of their rights. Most actually see women as sacred vessels entrusted by God to be partners in His work of creation. The goal is to protect that new life we believe carries the breath of God, as we all do. 2/3 of Americans are absolutely convinced that there is God, according to recent polling. Then let us act on that belief. Each child aborted will never be duplicated, just as you are unique, as are we all wonderfully, beautifully created. What wonders, what beauty, what miracles have we discarded that we will never know
Because we let our fear overwhelm our capacity to love.
Reason 5. We need to realign our socio-discursive construction regarding abortion. We need to attend to the meaning of the language we voice, especially the use of the word choice. It makes it seem like women are actually free to choose whether to keep a pregnancy or to end it. Allow me that misconception to disabuse. What choice does a woman have who is working 2 minimum wage jobs with 2 little mouths already hungry at home? How much choice does a poor woman have who has been abandoned by the baby's father as soon as he hears the pregnancy test was positive? Or a pregnant teen with 2 ultra-conservative, unbending parents who will not be able to hide their disappointment, shame, or worse, their anger? Women's right to choose is a misnomer at best, a lie at worst. When social, emotional, financial pressures exhaust a woman confronted with an unplanned and unexpected pregnancy, where is her choice? If the doctor tells her the baby will have birth defects and she feels too overwhelmed to add those special needs and doctors and therapy, or she has no health insurance to cover those expenses,
Where is her choice?
and while we are focused on a woman's right to choose, we cannot leave the men, the fathers, out of this conversation, as if they are good for nothing more than a sperm donation. This feminist anger has, intentionally or not, emasculated a generation of men who so often get left out of the decision of keeping or killing their own child. There are many good men who should have a voice in this life or death choice. Although the woman is the vessel that carries this new life, it does not belong to her alone, for she could not have created it on her own.
Reason 6. There is nothing we cannot figure out if we work together. Both sides need to recognize that it is just not about the woman, nor is it just about the baby. The goal here is not to make abortion illegal, although that would be ideal. The law does not change a woman's need nor desire to seek an abortion. Making it illegal will make it more dangerous for the woman, although nothing can make it more dangerous for the baby. Rights are rights until they infringe upon the rights of others. Then they become wrongs. My right to my body ends where your body begins. Just because a fetus is helpless and voiceless, there is no denying it as a human being, a separate body within. Let's make abortion unnecessary by giving women real choice when facing difficult pregnancies. For whatever the reason, imagine if we harness the passions on both sides of this issue to focus on what can be solved. Imagine if we work together to ensure that no woman ever has to seek an abortion because we have addressed the problems of income inequality, healthcare, and community support. That we, as a society, provide these necessities, including daycare, family leave, and mentorships. And let's work harder to prevent sexual and intimate partner violence because women should feel safer and more secure aside from the abortion issue. Let us work together to prevent the pregnancies that force women to make difficult life decisions and empower us all to lessen the casualties of living our dreams.
Let our unborn children leave their own fingerprints on the mirrors of this place, smudges that disrupt our plans, upend our cozy space. Let them teach us to be more courageous, more patient, more flexible in the face of challenge as we learn to value what is truly important, the lives of others who share this crazy race, not as competitors, but as companions on the journey. Let us not use our hard-fought autonomy to kill those who depend on us to survive. Our freedom does not have to come at the expense of our most helpless and vulnerable lives. In truth, abortion is the ending of a human life. What are we willing to sacrifice for our liberty? As feminists, why not protect that most feminine of qualities, the gift of growing and giving birth to humanity? Yes, when a woman is ready, let's have a conversation about how to ensure that happens. Let us see one another and our own good desires for freedom from oppression, from poverty, as well as our desires to provide life and liberty to all beings. Amanda, you are a light because you had the privilege to be born and to explore your gift. We can all be beacons of light if only we get this right. Together, let us shine into the dark, scary places. Let us root out fear, injustice, oppression, and intolerance. Let us erase the powerlessness of our fellow human beings and replace it with resources and real agency. Let us make sure that everyone, Black, brown, white, and Asian, born and unborn, wanted and unwanted, in every unique flavor we human beings are blessed with, that all people have the freedom to shine their lights. We have torn a hole in the fragile fabric of life by embracing abortion as a human right. I cannot help but wonder if there isn't a connection between our acceptance of abortions and the prevalence of addiction, mass shootings, and the frequent killing of our Black sons by a system designed to protect us all. But if we cannot respect and protect the most innocent of our species, how can we balk at the destruction of any part of it? If there is even only one point here, one word I have penned that you can agree with, let us begin there then, to choreograph a pattern of steps that will allow each woman who wants to carry that baby to term to have that clear choice. And let us encourage one another to always choose the better path, even if it is not the easiest, by pledging to lift up and love one another, to shepherd each other toward hope and light, to raise our collective voices, to refashion a culture where
All are welcome.
All are precious.
all are invited
To the dance of life.